But is it fair to say that the excellence and the beauty of Mesomedes' songs was rather underestimated or overlooked in scholarship?
Very underestimated. His music has been called banal, uninteresting, ditties, and all the scholars wondered why he had that fame and that position and that high salary as a composer in the Roman times.
Hello, and welcome to the Imaginary Song Hunt, a monthly meeting to track down lost songs of the deep past. I'm Barnaby Brown. This month, Steph and I are on the trail of the Hymn to Helios by Mesomedes of Crete. Mesomedes was court composer to the Roman Emperor Hadrian and achieved great fame in his lifetime. His hymns were widely copied and survive in Byzantine manuscripts, some of them with musical notation. To help us prepare our own interpretation, we spoke to Stelios Psaroudakes, a specialist in ancient Greek music from the University of Athens. He has a musician-friendly chapter on the Hymn to Helios in a book by Tom Phillips and Armand Dangour, Music, Text and Culture in Ancient Greece. Stelios walked us through what we know about the man, the manuscripts, the music, and what performers might do with it today. Let's hear what he had to say.
Thank you so much for joining us, Stelios Psaroudakes, today to come imaginary song hunting with us. And today we are talking about the Hymn to the Sun by Mesomedes of Crete, who was a bit of a kind of Elton John in his day. He was a court musician of the Emperor Hadrian, and he was a freedman who was elevated to this very significant position. And I love to sing his songs, and actually, I came to know about them. I came to sing them regularly as a result of working with a Northumbrian folk musician, Catherine Tickell, who is very interested in Mesomedes because she lives in the shadow of Hadrian's wall. So Mesomedes has got a lot of kind of emotional significance for some of us living in the north of England as well because of Hadrian's wall. So there you go.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I would like to ask you about is about Mesomedes. Who was he, and how do we know what we know about him? Where does the evidence come from?
Okay, some biographical notes, I suppose.
Please.
If I could share my screen, I have prepared a diagram that shows better the answer to your question. Now, you see the timeline starting with 0, going all the way to 1,000, and from then on to 2,000, where we stand. Yes? Mesomedes is in the 2nd century, and here are the names of the 3 Roman emperors with which he was associated: Hadrian, Pius, and Caracalla. Okay, now the dots show the evidence we have from the various imperial Roman and Byzantine texts. The first one is by Dio Cassius, who tells us that Caracalla offered a cenotaph to Mesomedes because Mesomedes was a renowned, celebrated composer of the Roman times, of the court of Hadrian, and therefore he thought, the Romans thought, perhaps the royal families thought that he was to be honored with a cenotaph. Okay, so then we get Bishop Eusebius, who tells us that Mesomedes floruit, the point of his, the high point of his career was in 141 or 144. So we know exactly the year of his best years in his production. Now, from Synesius, another bishop later in the 400s, we learn that he had composed a hymn to Nemesis. And we are very lucky because this hymn to Nemesis survived intact with its music. Okay, I shall say more about it just a minute later.
Yes.
And actually, he gives us 3 lines from the hymn to Nemesis, not with the notes, just the words, the lyrics. So we are able 100% to identify this hymn to Nemesis with what survives today with that same title.
Well, that's very, very exciting. So the texts match.
Yes, the texts are exactly the same 3 lines that come from the hymn to Nemesis. Now, another book called Historia Augusta, this is a name we give, scholars give to this compilation of the lives of Roman emperors. We learn that the next Roman emperor, Pius, immediately after Hadrian, reduced Mesomedes' salary because of larger economic cuts.
Oh dear.
Rome was going through difficult times.
Period of austerity. It's always the arts that suffer.
It's all these crises all the time. Yes, peaks and troughs. And then we have the last but one is an inscription, a very interesting inscription. Here I mentioned it, a Cretan inscription from the ancient city of Lapa. And perhaps I could show the inscription itself.
Yes, please.
Okay, you can see the inscription. It gives us the name of a Mesomedes. The first letter is missing. We hope it's the M missing. The son of Antiochos, who is offering Euken, is offering to goddess Thea Persephone. Okay, now the problem here is that Mesomedes here is spelled with 2 S's, 2 sigmas, and 1 omega, as opposed to the usual 1 sigma and omicron. Yeah, but beside that, we hope that this is our Mesomedes, the composer we are talking about, and this gives us the city of his origin, which is Lapa, in Crete, the island of Crete. Okay, and finally, we have the Byzantine lexicon, an encyclopedia written in the 10th century AD in Constantinople called Suda, who really gives us the most information about his life. He tells us that he's a lyric poet, that he comes from Crete, that he's Hadrian's freedman, as you said earlier, Steph, that he wrote an encomium to Antinous, who was the young lover, really, as we know, of Hadrian, and that he also wrote extended pieces for song and for the voice and the kithara, and also repeats the information that Caracalla honored him with the cenotaph. So this is all the information we have, yeah, the complete information about his life.
Which is actually, compared with many composers from later on in history, quite a lot.
Quite a lot, yes. We put a finger on the map and also on the timeline.
Yeah, so he was very well known in his time, and so we're able to kind of reconstruct when he was at the height of his popularity or his productivity. It's amazing to have this combination of biographical information and some documentary sources from earlier and then the later ones with the musical notation as well. And then, you know, it's absolutely incredible that for a named composer, there's multiple, there's poems that survive without musical notation, but of course also multiple songs with musical notation. How many do we have? What are the surviving poems and songs by Mesomedes?
Okay, again on this diagram, this line here shows the reception of his works. We have 2 poems from a work from an anthology by Planoudis in the 13th century, a Byzantine anthology, which gives us two of his poems without notes. These two poems have no title, so we give them titles. One is The Sphinx, and the other is About the Invention of Glass. They are little poems, and scholars believe that they come all the way from an earlier Byzantine anthology by Kephalas, produced in the 10th century AD, and perhaps, there's not hard evidence for that, they came from two earlier Byzantine anthologies, that of Agathias, with the title of Kyklos, and by Palladas, with the title Epigrams. So there we have a line of
a possible manuscript transmission.
Yes, definite manuscript tradition. And then, since you mentioned the poems with the notes, then we have a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 medieval manuscripts in the various European libraries, which contain more poems. For example, this one in the Vatican of the 13th, 14th century gives us 8 poems, 8 more poems without their music. Then we have some pieces with incomplete music, okay? Then another in Venice with no music, and suddenly we hit upon this 14th, 15th century Neapolitan manuscript, which gives us 4 scores, the Muse, Calliope, Helios, and Nemesis. So without this Neapolitan, this is very important manuscript, because without it, we wouldn't have the complete music of the Helios, which is our concern today. And finally, we have a Parisian one of the 15th century with, again, incomplete music. And these manuscripts were discovered, the Italian ones, at least in Italy, and the Vincenzo Galilei, the father of the renowned astronomer, in 1581, for the first time, included Mesomedes songs with the scores in his printed, by that time, Dialogo della musica antica e moderna. And since then, from 1581 to today, 2001, and even beyond, there is a whole series of scholars who leaned over Mesomedes' works and music and gave us wonderful additions and scholastic papers on the poet and his art.
So the fascination with Mesomedes really is ignited or reignited in 1581, or by the publication in 1581 by
Yes.
the astronomer's father.
Yes, in the Renaissance. And what is interesting is that the ancient notation was not known to Galilei. So he put it down on paper, but he didn't know, he couldn't read it, he couldn't sing it. It was much later, much later, that the notation was decoded. Yeah,
right.
Yes.
Well, aren't we blessed to have it? I mean,
We are indeed.
Of Hadrian and subsequent emperors.
Yes.
You think? I mean, do you think he was famous in his day, or was he just admired at court? Was he? I mean, obviously, if his manuscripts were copied, people must have come to admire him later on. But
were they also singing it in the taverns?
That's a very interesting question. The more I study his music, the more I realize that he's a very subtle composer. In other words, the performer of his music, well, the two hymns really, to the sun and to Nemesis, the performer has to discover what is being said in the lyrics, and how the melody that Mesomedes composed somehow brings up the meaning of the words and the emotions in the words, and be very sensitive musically and actually deliver those. And if we do that, then we find that Mesomedes songs can be very moving, musically very moving. Yeah?
It's not like that ballad tradition where you could sing any old tune. You've got your your verses, and the music is kind of, it could be any tune. No, here we have a composer who's thought about the melody, and it really matches the words.
It does. It does. His melody is composed in order to. It's a scholion, really. It's what's another word for scholion? It's a commentary.
Yeah.
It's a musical commentary in painting in music, painting in sound what is being said. This very strong mimetic element of the ancient Greek music, yes, mimesis, which means that the sound follows the words very, very closely, the meaning and the emotions involved in the lyrics. So I think this is what Mesomedes, we have to pay attention to that aspect of his art.
That's something that, you know, lots of musicians, classical musicians particularly, would associate with, you know, Baroque music, with much later Western art music. And it's always really kind of fascinating to discover that this idea of melodic rhetoric is much, much older and goes back to antiquity. But is it fair to say that the kind of the importance, or at least the excellence and the beauty of Mesomedes' songs was rather underestimated or overlooked in scholarship?
Very underestimated. His music has been called banal, uninteresting, ditties, and all the scholars wondered why he had that fame and that position and that high salary as a composer in the Roman times. Everybody that studied Mesomedes concluded that his uninteresting music.
There are plenty of famous composers who were well paid and eminent in their time, whose music later on it maybe isn't quite so highly valued. But with Mesomedes, it seems that people continued to copy his songs for centuries.
For centuries, yes, yes. And his poems.
That suggests he was really valued. He entered the canon of not just music education, but general education. Do you think that's fair?
Yes, must have been like this. Yes, yes. If the interest continues, which means that the art is being valued by the next generations. Yes.
And the fact that the music notation survives suggests that people didn't just read the poetry silently, but they were actually interested in singing it.
I'm not sure. We have no evidence that the people, the scribes who wrote these medieval manuscripts, actually were able to sing the notes, to decipher the notes.
Or was it more like an antiquarian thing? They were curious.
Yes,
these symbols were copied but not understood.
Copied but not understood. The thing that Galilei did exactly the same thing. He copied it, but without understanding it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a relic, a holy relic.
These notation symbols, I mean, they are like a holy relic. It looks like gobbledygook. It's kind of fascinating. What do we know about the notation system, and why are some symbols used in this piece?
I think we should have a look at it. Let's have a look at the manuscript, and so we can see what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yes. What does it look like?
Well, here it is, the best one, the one from Naples. What we have here is minuscule Greek letters, okay? And on top of them, on top of every syllable, we have a musical sign, a melodic sign. Sigma, 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 so we have a repetition, iota, sigma, rho, sigma, phi, and so on. Yeah?
Yeah.
We can read it. Cio noble paru pateraus, prodoesan hosandiga pollo. This is the text, and we have the music above it. Now, this is a clearer picture of it in the edition by Perlman and West in 2001. Okay, what we see, really, this is an example of an ancient Greek score. We have the text, the word text, and above we have the text of the music. Sigma, 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 yoda, and a lambda here. Okay, so it goes on and on and on and on. It's a very long, it's 19 lines. It's like 2 A4 pages of music. So that's great luck. Yeah. This is the next page, you see. It says 25, but it's really 19. Okay, and to understand it better, I have produced another kind of score. I call it an augmented score. What appears in red is ancient, so we have the text and the music, okay? And I have added here what we call scansion, because ancient Greek diction has, as in English, has short syllables and long syllables, yes? Like in English, we say sheep, long, and ship, short. A similar phenomenon existed in ancient Attic, classical Attic. This is, of course, we're here in the 2nd century AD, but I'm not going to pronounce it in the 2nd century AD pronunciation. So the little sigma indicates that the syllable above is a short one. It lasts 1 unit of time, chi. O. But nob lasts 2 units of time, therefore the capital sigma. So what we get is ta-ta-tam, 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 tam. And if I recite it, io noble paru pateraus, you can hear the lengths of the syllables. Now, since there are no rhythmical signs above the melodic signs, we assume that it is the durations of the syllables that are carried over. So the short syllable will last 1 unit of time, and this is the ancient sign for the unit of time, and the long syllable will last 2 units of time, and this is the ancient symbol for the 2 units of time. So up, and the dot indicates the upbeat, because this rhythm is what the ancient metricians called Anapaestic, which a rising meter, a rising rhythm, ta-ta-tam, up and down, yes, up and down, Anapaestic. Therefore, we have ta-ta-tam, 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 pa-pam. The ending is different. You get an anapaest, a second anapaest, a third anapaest, and at the end you get an iamb, pa-pam, pa-pam. So the whole line, which then repeats again and again and again for 19 times, goes ta-ta-tam, 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 ta-tam. Right?
Yeah.
Now, this particular rhythmical line was very popular amongst the Romans, especially in the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, and it has a name, and it's called apokroton. Apokroton. Yeah? That rhythmical unit, that rhythmical phrase is an apokroton, and it's a very popular rhythm to be used in the poetry of that period. 1st, 2nd centuries AD. Now, this one is an ancient symbol, and it is an extension of the note before it, of the time, of the duration. It adds 1 unit of time to the previous note. So that note is double, 2 units of time, and a third unit of time is added to it, like a dot in our case. The only thing is that a dotted note into today really adds half of the value of the note. In this case, it adds a whole unit of time to the previous note. So instead of singing aus, we have to sing aus, putting in an extra. And this is what makes the apocryphon. This is the interesting ending. Ta-ta-tam, 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 pa-pam. Yeah?
Yeah.
And that extra time doesn't have a new syllable. It's just an elongation. It's an is it called an overlong, or the long syllable is just extended?
It's called a lema, which means really means what is left over. What is left over, and it attaches itself to the note, not to the syllable. It protracts the note. It protracts the note.
It presumably fills up the time, or creates some sort of groovy syncopation.
It has. It changes the rhythm. From anapaestic, we suddenly move into iambic. Pa-pa-pam, ta-ta-tam, ta-ta-tam, ta-tam. Yeah, it's like an ending.
Could it
Yes.
Kind of am I being crass here?
No. If I were to sing this, we'll talk about the pitches later, but just for the sake of our argument here, I will sing it, and you can hear the melody together with the
thank you.
Rhythm. Dio nobile paru pater haus, prodo essan hossan digapon, tanois hybicnes idioces, ryse aisina gallomenos comais, perinotona peiritonuranu. These are the 5 first lines. You can hear that ending down.
Yeah. It really lifts it, makes it much more interesting. Instead of being a kind of ploddy, predictable thing, it's got a bit of groove.
Also, moment to appreciate a beautiful vocal delivery. Thank you very much for that.
Steph, you mentioned earlier that Mesomedes is relevant to the English people because of Hadrian and Hadrian's wall.
Yeah. Well, emotionally weighted, I guess.
Yeah. Emotionally, I'm connected to him as well because he's a compatriot of mine in some way. He comes from Crete, I come from Crete, and actually his place from my place is just a cigarette smoke away.
I love that expression.
So now we've had a look at the rhythm of the words, and we want to move on to talking about the rhythm and the melody and the pitches and how they join up to make melody. But first of all, I think we need to talk about the text and really look at what it is that we're singing about.
Well, in translation, Father of dawn with the snowy eyelashes, who the rosy chariot at the foal's soaring steps you drive, delighting in your golden hair, about the limitless back of the sky, twining your ever-circling beam, the thread of radiance round the whole earth winding, while rivers of immortal fire give birth to lovely day. For you, chorus serene of stars dances, Lord of Olympus, a leisurely song ever singing, delighting in Phoebus' lyre, and the pale moon in front leads time and season on with her white heifers drawing. And your benevolent heart is glad as it keeps the richly arrayed universe revolving.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's such a beautiful text.
I mean,
beautiful imagery.
I can just see the sun rising, and it brings all the symbolism and but Yeah, the use of words is just gorgeous, and that's in English translation.
Yes.
It must. I'm imagining it's something even more special in Greek, particularly
Yes.
to a Cretan, a compatriot.
Yes, yes.
Can you introduce us to the tonal framework of this song?
Yes.
A
Yes.
chance of understanding these alphabet symbols and the melody.
Yes. Okay.
So I know a lot of people who are very obsessive about spreadsheets who are going to get extremely excited about this diagram.
I find it much better for educational purposes in my students to use graphs rather than staff notation, because a graph shows really on paper what is happening in the sound. Exactly. You get the intervals, the magnitudes of the intervals, the correct ones.
It gets the prize for the most exciting and creative use of a spreadsheet that I've ever seen.
Yeah?
I love the way that in this diagram of yours, you can just see it like a landscape. It's like
Yeah.
looking at a map, a proper map of the piece, and
Yeah.
you get the sense.
Can you see that the melody is gently rising in the first 5 lines?
Yes, that's very clear.
Why is it happening?
You tell
Because
us.
the sun is rising. That's what I meant earlier by mimetic treatment of the words, and that one has to recognize this, see it. I saw it only when I made this diagram. I couldn't see it in notation stuff, yeah? But when I made a graph of it, I realized, if I drew a line, it's sort of intermediate line through there, then it's a rising line. And where does it end? It ends at the word noton, apiriton uranu, which means at the dome of the sky. That's where the chariots goes from, which means to me as a performer, and to you, Steph, as a performer, that we have to start gently and piano in our voice, and slowly, as we go from line to line, raise our dynamics. So, can I illustrate by singing this?
Yeah.
Io nobile paru pateros, rodos an hosantiga polon, tanois vipicnes idioces, griseais sinagalomenos comais, verino dona periton uranu. And here we have the first stop. The melody stops. It's a continuous line moving upwards, and it suggests to me, the performer today, of course, without any ancient evidence, that this is how I should mold my voice, my dynamics, so that not only the line of the music, but also the dynamics of my voice reveals this ascending chariot.
All you're doing with this extra layer of detail is confirming what's already there in the melodic contour.
Yes. Having discovered and believing that this is what Mesomedes intended.
Mm-hmm.
And there is more. There's much, much more. If we go further down, and then Actina polis troponam plecon, about radiating light to the world. Eglas polider apanan, perigaian hapas angelison. And here then the rivers of fire are thrown upon the world. Yes, and it seems to me, it is suggested to me, as a performer again, that here we have the birth, a kind of a womb that gives birth to rivers of fire. Yeah,
and the voice comes up at that kind of descent beforehand must be significant, so that the rivers of fire suddenly have a greater intensity.
Yes, and you can see a curve that sort of sort of, if I may say so, resembles the belly of a woman who is about to give birth. It sounds like this. Erigoian aposon helison, potamoides saturn pyros ambrotu. There, ictus in aperaton hameron.
It's a beautiful melody.
The birth has happened.
Boring.
Certainly not banal, is it?
The birth has happened. Yes, the melody has risen up. It's like a volcano of fire and light.
I want to sing this. I'm feeling very jealous here.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to sing it?
As a composer or as a singer. Jealous.
Well, I suppose as a composer, I'm thinking, yes, I want to craft something this beautiful. And as a singer, I'm thinking, where am I going to breathe? Do you have any particular advice on that?
Yes. I mean, here we have to breathe. For example, the previous line I sang from here. There. Breathe at the beginning of 9. Breathe again. Now stop. Now the birth of the day has happened. This is what it says. Hemera, the day has been born.
The division of the text into these units of sense,
Yes.
that gives you places to break up into phrases and to take a moment and to take space.
Yes.
And does that generally coincide with where the longer metrical units are in the notation and in the meter?
Yes. We look for semantic phrases and their endings. We make sure twice Mesomedes doesn't coincide in 2 places. The musical phrase and the semantic phrase don't coincide. Their endings, I mean, they don't coincide. But after that, they always coincide. Yes, as you see here, there is a coincidence of melodic and semantic phrase.
And where it doesn't coincide, as a performer, would you break the semantic sense to take a breath, or would you breathe at the height in the middle of the phrase?
Yes, I will follow the music.
Fine.
We know, for example, that even in our opera today, composers are interested in music. And some scholars, some musicologists have even gone as far as to say that composers don't even respect the text. And I've been to a conference on that theme, and
Wow.
I was convinced that there are many, many, many occasions where composers use the text, or rather abuse the text, because what is important to their mind, to themselves, they are musicians, and therefore they want to create music.
So a music-led regime rather than a word-led regime.
Yes, they sacrifice. I see that in modern songs as well. Very often the words are sacrificed, or even the rhythm is sacrificed. The musical rhythm goes over the textual rhythm, destroys the textual rhythm, very often. We find it in our songs.
Yeah.
In modern Greek song, for example, we find it many times, even by renowned composers. But then they do tricks by which they escape the clash.
Do you think Mesomedes is giving us some decent alignment here between the semantic structure of the words?
Yes.
Yes. And his melodic.
After 5 line, where there is, you see, the melody ends at the end of 5, okay, but the meaning goes on until the end of line 6.
There's a bit of an overlap in the phrase of
it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I mean, nobody notices. Only scholars can see that. It doesn't come out in performance.
Yeah.
And if we move on, Melody, shall I move on, or
Yes, please.
describe more of what is happening here? Now, this is very important because the mood changes completely, because now reference is made to the stars. The stars are rising from the horizon, from the sea, from the horizon, like the little boys we saw earlier in the picture, in the vase painting, going to Mount Olympus. They dance and sing. And of course, we expect a more lively, a more jagged, is that the right word, melody? And we can see that here.
Oh, yeah, you can see it leaping around.
Yes. And I tend to, my tempo to go a bit faster here, because of that. It sort of drives me. Soimen choros audios asteron, at Olympon anacta correuon, aneton melos aiena heidon, oibe iditer pomenos lyra. It stops suddenly. Yeah?
Quite a striking use of repetition there as well.
Yeah, and it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And it to my mind, this signifies the sort of swirling and jumping and up and down, forwards, backwards of the dancers. It's a dance thing, as opposed to the long melodic curves of that we saw previously.
And the whole energy level is lifted because it's
lifted, yes.
Going back and forth between your sigma and mu, those pitches, it's lifted up.
You can see that. You can see that. It's rising. So it goes down, the melody begins and gently goes up and further up and further up and further up, yes, and all the way down again.
Right.
Yeah.
It's energetic. When we dance, we are energetic. And after that, another bit, then Selene comes in, because as the chariot of Helios is rising, then the chariot of the moon is dipping. Yeah.
Selene is the goddess of the moon.
Goddess of the moon, and she's tired all night long.
She's been working all night.
All night long, and actually, I have spotted the place where her name is mentioned, Selana, and Mesomedes, and this R is what we do when we yawn.
Oh, it's like a sighing appoggiatura.
Yeah, listen to it. Glaucade paroit Selana.
Oh, it's Purcell.
She's yawning.
Wow, that's wonderful.
The melody goes down, she's going away, sinking into the horizon. Therefore, our voice, now again, as performers, our voice has to be shaped so as to convey that tiredness, yawning less, and the quietness, going into the quiet phase of the moon. And the melody ends triumphantly with this repetitive pa-pa-pam, pa-pa-pam. All the trumpets of the world are collected to celebrate the god Helios. Ganitaidet tesoi ponos eumenes, oluheimon akosmon elison. I expect, or I choose to do a little ritenuto at the end, because, and this is the only place in the melody where Mesomedes has chosen to put 3 notes on a long syllable.
Wow.
Nowhere else in his melody there are 3 notes on a long syllable. Can be 1, can be 2, but not 3. I think this is an end signal.
Closing formula.
A real ending. Like a signature kind of thing.
It's very significant, that, because it means that one maybe shouldn't be adding melismas during it, because he's being very particular. He's reserved a 3-note melisma for the penultimate syllable.
Yes.
So if you were to do that spontaneously earlier on, you'd be taking away, you'd be removing that
Yes.
structural effect.
But there is a but to this. That melisma occurs here as well, but it has no connection with what is being said underneath. There is no aesthetic connection between this melisma and the about this bull, a bull mentioned here, Moscon.
But melodically, it's matching what happens.
Matches, yes. The last 2 lines, and this is a kind of preambulum, a kind of a little bell that tells the listener, the end is coming. Something new, the end is coming, and here is the repetition of that melisma, which closes the affair.
Wonderful.
So if we recognize all these subtleties in the relationship between words and music, and if we as performers shape our voices musically to fit into these expressions, then I think the music that will come out, we will produce, is rather sensitive and worth its while.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. I mean, with this level of thought, having at the stage of composition, having gone into the relationship between the words and the melody, then it's our duty as singers to convey that with equivalent sensitivity in how we think about dynamics and phrase shaping and tempo elasticity. And thank you so much for giving us such an excellent account of the way that you've thought this through, in spite of Mesomedes' songs being so underappreciated in school.
Yes, underestimated. Yes.
So I'm excited, because I want to hear Steph singing this. I want to hear lots of people singing this.
But you're always excited.
Okay, yes.
Especially excited.
But here we are. We've got an Imperial Roman song, a good one. Okay, it's substantial, it's beautiful. There's lots. The text is lovely. But in order to sing it, a singer wants some sort of instrument. How much do we know about the context? I mean, how many people sang it, and what would the instruments have been? What do we know?
Well, we've got a bit of evidence coming from Synesius, the bishop, who gives us the 3 lines from Nemesis, and says that this is the hymn that we usually sing to the accompaniment of the lyre.
Mm-hmm.
He says it for the Nemesis. Well, if we extrapolate, we can extrapolate. If the hymn to Nemesis, who is a severe goddess, is sung to the accompaniment of the lyre, of the soft instrument, then I suppose the song to Helios, the lyre would be very, very appropriate. And Apollo's lyre, yes?
Would it have had just one singer, or potentially more singers, how much do we know, and how do we know it?
We don't know.
As usual.
We must speculate. It seems to me, after my study of the piece, because I recognize that this music is subtle, I tend to think of a monody, a solo song, because a choir is a mass of sound. We know from our choirs today, the music is grand, the music is we use choirs when we need mass of sound, and we don't expect subtleties from a choir. this type of music seems to me that it is a salon piece. Therefore, it's a monodic
solo for the
solo.
imperial, for the delectation of the emperor.
Just very
Yes.
quickly, I just want to
And
throw in, if anyone from my choir is listening, I do expect subtlety from you.
Well, yes, that's an experiment you can carry out. Can a choir sing these subtleties of Mesomedes Helios?
Well, I mean, singing in unison for choirs is very difficult to do well. So yes, I mean, this would be a huge challenge to do well with a choir for sure.
Mm.
But we know, don't we, that Mesomedes himself was, a singer who accompanied himself on the
Oh,
chitarra.
yes. Yes, he wrote Kitharodic nomoi, long pieces for the kithara and solo voice. So he accompanied himself on the kithara. He was
Do we
renowned.
know if he stood up or sat down? Do we know anything like that?
No. But I expect if one were to sing a hymn to Helios, a god would stand up.
Right.
If I may project our modern.
But we also have images of lyre players, and while sometimes they are seated, at other times they are standing. So it could be played standing. Would it have been played as in procession potentially, walking?
Well, if it's a solo piece, I don't see it played in a liturgical setting, yeah,
Right.
in a cultic setting.
No.
It's either a cult song or a solo song. It's either for an outdoor choral thing, or it is an indoor solo song. Yeah, I tend to see it as a lead.
Mesomedes himself entertaining the Emperor Hadrian and Antinous.
Yeah, after all, he was a composer of the royal court.
Yes.
He wrote music for the king, for the royalty, for the guests, I expect. As we know, it was done later in medieval times and later in Baroque. But then, of course, that's conjecture.
We love conjecture. That's what the imaginary song hunt is all about.
Well, if we don't do that sometimes, we can't go forward.
Exactly. It's better than silence.
Yes, you have to experiment, but be honest and say what is ancient and what is added by ourselves.
Absolutely, that's music to our ears. Yes, we want a safe space in which to speculate, which means that we need to be honest and not to mislead, and to make it clear when we're imagining, and
Yes.
not try and say that we've solved the problems of ancient notations.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's the big question or opportunity for us performers today. We've got an amazing level of completion, the melody and the words, but we don't have the lyre accompaniment. So we've got quite a lot of scope for some creativity there.
Yes. But we've got to try one way or another way and then discuss it between us and argue about this or that. Yes.
Yeah, and may the conversation continue. I will look forward to that, and I hope that we can take this further.
Yes, I hope too.
Yeah, thank you so much,
too.
Stelios.
I thank you too, Steph and Barnaby, for this conversation, very interesting conversation on my beloved Mesomedes.
Oh, thank you for sharing him with us.
Okay.
That's it for this month's hunt. Thanks for joining us on the trail. A big thank you to our Patreons. This would not be possible without you. If you enjoyed today's adventure, do consider joining. Every month, exclusively for Patreons, there are 2 Zoom meetings. Steph runs a Zoom choir singing ancient songs together, and I host the workshop of Dionysus, playing double pipes and sometimes lyres. Lotus Labs Zooms are open to all levels. Anyone who wants to get the best out of these wonderful instruments and fragments of notation. Join us turning hard scholarship that's silent into heartwarming music that everyone can hear. Until next time, happy song hunting.